weekend, and oh look, there's a cat in a tree. So the other day, Emma and I were out in one of our pear blocks and looking at some fruit and putting up pheromone ties. First off, I can explain what pheromone ties are. This is just kind of where we're at in the spring right now. It's a little bit late. I'm a little bit late putting up pheromone ties, but we put up. They're just little. Emma can put up a picture of a pheromone tie right here. They're essentially just little plastic tubes or little ties that you hang in the upper portion of the tree. And it helps us, it's called mating disruption, so it helps us kind of distract the male calling moth, which is a big pest in apple and pear orchards here in Washington State. And so we put it up high in the trees, and it is heavier than air, so it floats down. And when males are flying, so fun fact for people, moths are nocturnal, so they fly at night, and their like peak flight is usually in the evenings. Like probably, I don't know if you were, like when you turn on your porch light in the evening and you collect a bunch of moths around it, it's because moths are nocturnal and they fly mostly. Their peak flight starts in the late in the evening and into the night. So we put these up so that when a calling moth is flying, a male calling moth, so the pheromone is a female pheromone in this little tube, and they have calling moth pheromone in them. They release pheromone at a release curve, for I think the label on them says roughly like 180 days is what you can get out of them. And so anyways, we put these things up, and well, we might have one somewhere close that we can find, but we put them up for mating disruption, and it's just kind of another integrated pest management strategy that we use in our orchards. But that was kind of a side trail. Anyways, as we were doing that, I was walking through our pears and just kind of taking a look. It's always good to go out and look at your stuff, even though I don't do it enough. I'm busy with other stuff and with the new planting and work and whatnot. But so anyways, I was out looking at stuff and these pears, and actually noticed it in our little cosmic block, frost rings. So Emma can put up a picture of a frost ring on a pear right here. Let me hold it right here for you. So what that frost ring is that when that pear gets pollinated in the spring, it develops, so the pollen hits the, if I'm getting this right, the filament, and hits the anther. Is it the anther? It's the anther. It's got a stigma, a style, and the ovary is what actually has the seeds in them. And so that piece of pollen goes down into the tube. It's called a pollen tube. It takes a couple days for it to fertilize that ovary. And anyway, so it creates a little pear. And so these pears are, I don't know, maybe 10 to 12 millimeters in diameter right now. And so still on these colder nights, now that this pear is pollinated, it's less susceptible to die from frost, but still is susceptible to cold. And so what happens is when they get cold enough, and they don't freeze, but they get cold, it creates a russeted frost ring around them. And so that picture shows a good example, or video, and I can put up a video, but it's a good example of like things we battle. And of course, these pears are cannery pears, but it's still, that little tiny frost ring, as the pear continues to grow and cells divide, will turn into a larger russet ring, literally around the pear, and unfortunately that might turn into a coal. It doesn't look like it's too bad in this block, but it's just something that I noticed enough of. There was enough of it out there to see it, so it's kind of unfortunate. But we just, as farmers, we kind of are at the mercy of the weather, and we can do as much, whether it's frost protecting and other things, as much as we can to protect our crops. But there's some things that are just out of our control. So another thing I noticed was we put on, this block is bordered next to some of our Concord grapes, and we put on an herbicide in our grapes to burn down some of the suckers and kill some of the morning glory and Canada thistle. Those are a couple of pesky weeds that we fight here in the spring, and they're tough to kill. And unfortunately, 2,4-D, which is a synthetic auxin growth promoter, essentially, like, is a good product that we can use to kill them. But unfortunately, grapes are super susceptible and super sensitive to 2,4-D, so you can't really use it in grapes. It cups the leaves and makes them look absolutely horrible. So anyway, so I we tank mixed. So anyways, we ended up using some Roundup or glyphosate and another burn down product mixed in together. And that row that borders the grapes got a little bit it must have been a little bit windy when we applied it, and got a little bit of these black speckles. I can show a picture of it there, but just little things you notice as you're driving around. And I was looking at the outside row, and I was looking at the leaves, and I was like, that kind of, they're a little bit speckly, and started looking at the fruit. And as a farmer, you kind of got to do a cross off the list of like things it could be, whether it was frost rings, or could have been something I applied foliarly, that I was spraying the pears with a week ago, or just like things could have been. There's just a million things. Could have been limb rub. It's been super windy this spring, so there's just a million different things that you can attribute it to. But I looked at it, and they're all just little finite dots on the leaves. It's not in the margins of the leaves. It's on the outside, so it doesn't look like it's a nutritional. That's another thing. It's nutritional things. So usually nutritional things start like from the inside of the leaves out, depending on what the nutritional problems are, or like yellowing of the leaves or curling of the leaves, or there's just a menagerie of different things. So I was looking at it and noticed that they're all local points, so just all little impressions, and it was on the leaves and it was on the fruit. So it took me a couple seconds to realize that we had drifted our own herbicide onto our pears, and I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think by the time they get big, unlike that russeting from those frost rings, that will show up later. I think these little herbicide dots will end up being all right. They'll smooth over, and again, they're getting canned, so they'll peel that skin off, and it shouldn't turn out to be a cold. But anyways, just kind of things we're working on this spring. Just an update for you guys, the diehard followers for us. We're working on getting through water first, and getting the first water on in our grapes. Here at the farm, we still ditch irrigate, so we're trying to get across with that. Our cosmics are done. They're done blooming. They're past petal fall. Cosmics are a really tough to set variety, so we're kind of just crossing our fingers, hoping that we got a decent set. Our pears too, looks like the initial set's pretty good, but usually with pears, after the first good heat, it's something that's called June drop. It happens a lot in apples, grannies, goldens. Trees just shed fruit without any rhyme or reason, and pears do the same thing. So hoping a lot of these pears stick around, because the pear crop looks pretty good right now. But on the new planting, where irrigation's done, we hired a company to put in the trellis for us. Last year we hired the same company just to put in posts for us, but we kind of crunched the numbers, and honestly, with the work crew we decided that our people would be better off in other spots, and we're going to hire another outfit to the same company to put in the trellis for us. So it'll be pretty exciting to see that go up. 15.5 acres doesn't seem like a lot when it's all in perspective. 15.5 acres for us, that when we're only farming 110, 15.5 acres is 10-12% of our total production. So it's a decent amount of equity, capital, time, just a lot of different things, moving parts. So it's actually been these last 2 years have been a lot of moving and grooving and moving parts. But we got a residual herbicide down last week. Shout out to my mom for putting that down. She hammered it out. It was great. And then this week we got some warmer temperatures, so I'm hoping we get some more growth on our 1-year-old planting, or this will be the 2nd year on that, so our 2-year-old planting essentially. And we're going to start injecting some fertilizer and keep training those things. So I'll have to do a training video and show people how we train grapes up to get them up to where we can actually pick them on their 3rd leaf. So anyways, lots of things coming up, and stay tuned.